Everyone knows that Slainsville General Store on Route 29 is a great place for a fill-up and a beverage. But did you know that the Slainsville General has a pizza shop, dine-in or take-out? Did you know SG has a hardware and sporting goods store with farm supplies, feed, and automotive? But wait, Slainsville General also has a personal care salon. Angie's Chair does hair, nails, tanning, and more. It's the Slainsville General Store. And don't forget their meat, cheese, and seafood deli and movie rentals. At Slainsville General, it's everything but the kitchen sink. Well, wait, they will place orders.
My name is Bob Flanagan. I'm president of the Fort Edwards Foundation here in Capon Bridge, West Virginia. This organization, which grew out of a grassroots effort to protect the site of Joseph Edwards' home and a fort that he subsequently established here during the French and Indian War to protect his family and his neighbors. Actually, Joseph Edwards came to this area in 1730s, mid-30s, and the events we talk about primarily in the French and Indian War, which began in 1754. What this is, today's venue, is being held here in Capon Bridge. It's something we do annually and have been doing for about 10 years now. It's called the Colonial Feast.
I'm Charles Hall. I'm one of the founders of the Fort Edwards Foundation, right now the Director of Publications and Research. And I would just like to make a few comments about the wonderful feast that you're seeing pictures of. We started the Colonial Feast as the first event of the Fort Edwards Foundation, and we wanted to raise some public awareness. We thought this was a good way to get the people of Hampshire County involved in history, particularly colonial history. So we started the Fort Edwards Colonial Feast, which we serve a meal that's in a colonial style. This year's is perhaps the best we've ever had in terms of its authenticity. The Colonial Feast started out as a potluck, in which we put colonial recipes in the two county libraries, and we invited people to pick up a colonial recipe and make it and bring it to the feast.
We started that feast as a way to get people together, and it used to be, it was not a paid affair. The only cost of admission was to bring a colonial dish, and we had bear steaks, we've had squirrel stew, we've had fried rabbit, we've had the whole gamut of game as you might have encountered it in the 18th century.
But eventually we realized we had to meet the health department requirements for public events, so we then turned to catering it.
We subsequently have gotten a lady to work with us who is trained and has a background in 18th century culture.
This year is, as I say, the most authentic that we've had. We are fortunate to have Brian LeMaster, who has worked at Colonial Williamsburg and Mount Vernon.
So trying to stay with that sort of historical attitude about it, this year we're featuring, there's a Hampshire roast hog, and then we have a venison and game stew. They got vegetables done up in colonial style and special breads, and it's just really quite exciting.
Bob, is it typical that you have a presentation such as a speaker? This gentleman, Brian LeMaster, as I understand, he's done some professional work on some movie sets.
Oh yeah, we were lucky to get Brian. Brian is in great demand to talk about guns, of course, as you might imagine, and he's an expert on it. He designed the guns, built the guns actually, crafted them in his own shop that were used in the Daniel Day-Lewis production of The Last of the Mohicans.
I'm Brian LeMaster. I live in Highview, West Virginia, and I'm a gunsmith by trade. I work on 18th century firearms and do restoration, as well as building custom guns. Got interested in the gunsmithing, met a fellow that made guns for probably 20 years as a full-time living, and made the first gun for myself and one for family, and it just gradually took on a way of its own, and I've been making guns for 20-some years now.
What type of rifles would really be that you would admire?
Really, the early guns are the ones, what you could call a foundation gun, and that's a key gunsmith that built rifles in the 18th century, and maybe there's never been a piece of his work. We know from advertising, advertisements or tax histories that these gunsmiths existed. They were out there building rifles, but they've never found an existing signed piece. And sometimes when you get the guns that have had a lot of wear to them, where saddle wear from being carried on a saddle, or it's a gun that has heavily worn forend where almost the wood's been worn away to the point from years and years of usage. Those are the guns that talk to you. They have a story.
You did some work with Last of the Mohicans, and how was that experience for you?
It was educational. It kind of spoils the fun when you watch a movie because you know what goes into it. So many things that look good, in the movie, but when you're actually up close, you find out, some things are made of latex rubber and they're painted. They're not even real. Some people in the movie industry are really nice. Daniel Day-Lewis is really a neat guy, and he was an apprentice cabinet maker in England before he got into acting. Well, it's fun to try to plant some seeds of heritage. I mean, when you look at children in every family, there's always generations it skips and it jumps over. I mean, you see so many grandfathers that, there's one grandson that has that attunement that he likes history. But all you have to do, the more you spread the seed out there, it takes hold in just a few kids that hopefully they care about the history that's important to us. So you hope that somebody will be there to pick up the torch for the next generation.
So it is for us a way in order to get the public involved in what we do and to get us out to the public so they can see who we are and what we're about. We believe that we have a very unique and important site in this fort site of Joseph Edwards. It is the only fort site of the Virginia colonial frontier in which a settler's fort has been positively identified and is currently being interpreted for the public. So it's the story we have to tell, and this feast is just one of the ways in which we try to interest people in the fact that we have 250 years of history right here in Hampshire County.